Hi, just before we start, I'm taking this idea from the Science of a series on MatPat's channel, and it's pretty much this guy. He writes letters that are very scientific accurate, where he asks crazy questions about video games. So yeah, that's what I'm doing today. So let's get into it. Dear 2K Games, hi, it's me, the Demon. This is my first theory, so I'm gonna ask something pretty simple, could you say started color workers devoted to you as a prophet? Could they create a city that could be lifted into the sky? Could you lift that city into the sky? Now, of course, sounds outlandish, right? Why would you do that? That's so stupid. A whole city that lifts into the sky is impossible to build. But it's after I've done the calculations, I find it pretty simple. So let's start by figuring out how much it weighs, because if you can figure out how much something weighs, you can figure out how much force you need to lift it. Now, we're not going to cover force yet, but let's get into that. Well, a brick weighs about 2.7 kilograms per brick, and the average house in America around 1912 carries about 8,000 bricks. So a single-story house made out of bricks weighs about 21,000 kilograms, 21,600 to be exact, or about 47,619.894 pounds. Now this sounds like a crazy amount, not to mention the majority of houses are 2 or 3 stories tall. So for an average, we're going to do about 2 stories for the civilian houses. So if all of them are 2 stories, the building in the first zone Emporia, which I think is a great spot because it holds multiple different specialty buildings, and it's one of the larger zones out there. So yeah, we'll start there. In total in Emporia, you would have about 1,339,200 kilograms, or if you're American, 2,952,430.615 pounds. That is an insane amount, and that's only in civilian houses, minus dead weight such as the wood, furniture, and the people. And just that alone is insane. So we're not going to calculate the wood, furniture, and people because I didn't do that, because the script was written ages ago, before COVID. So yeah, roads also add about 1,680 kilograms per square meter, which is modern-day concrete, which is about what they have there. They have cobble, so it roughly checks out to less weight than the cobble houses, so than a cobble road, so it's great. That for just one square meter of road is 1.68 tons. Now, roughly, the roads would add about 84,000 pounds, or making our entirety of the total 1,423,200 kilograms. Now, I was thinking maybe we could lift this with what we see in the game, except there are some freaking huge buildings. The Bank of the Prophet alone is this giant building, so we're gonna go with the Grand Depot to weigh in, because the Grand Depot is Grand Central Depot, which is actually a real building. You may recognize Grand Central Station, but there is a depot that was destroyed, and I think it was outside of New York, called Grand Central Depot. When Grand Central Depot was constructed, it used the equivalent of 58 585,000 bricks. When Grand Central Depot was created, it used 58,500 bricks. If each brick again weighs a total of 2.7 kilograms, by the way, I am saying that I'm just going to use bricks as a standard for this. I'm not really focusing on much else. Its total weight is 157,950 kilograms. Multiply that by 4, which would be the amount of buildings in one area on average, making one area in total worth 6,631,800 kilograms, or about 1,312,280.57 pounds. That is big, but that's not the question. How in the ever-loving, try not to swear here, fajita, we'll go with that, are we going to lift this? Let's find out. Okay, so if we use the same gas we would use today, to give it some semblance of safety, of course, it's still not safe because, like, unless you're above the clouds, because in the game, they're in the clouds, which means that they would be being pushed around by storms. So these balloons would be very prone to popping, which would bring down whole sectors of the cities. Anyways, to give it some semblance of safety, we would use helium. Now, a cubic foot of helium has a lifting power of 0.064 pounds per cubic foot. So, you know, those pound to conversions mattered earlier, which was surprising, but that's like nothing. For example, my mouse is 0.064 pounds. That's literally nothing, and that's a whole cubic foot of gas to lift it, right? So if that's it, you would need roughly about, it's the equivalent to roughly 0.03 kilograms per 0.3 meters cubed. Because feet cubed is easier, we'll stick with that for now because we already have the pound measurements. Now, to lift even 1.28 pounds, you would need to multiply it by 20. That's 20 freaking feet cubed to lift 1.28 pounds. You see why rockets take so much to be launched out into the sky. To get our total, we would need 4,178,641.71 feet cubed. That's bigger than a bread box, I think. I think that's bigger than a bread box. But let's find out. I just looked it up. You know how big that is? That's 40 times the surface area of Manhattan. Now, to do this properly, the whole city would be multiplied by 6 times, representing the 6 sections of the city, including Emporia, which we're using as our average here. So that's 40 times Manhattan times 6. You would need roughly about 25,071,850.26. That's bigger than the size of all of New York City, including all of the boroughs like Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn. You get what I mean? Yeah, seems pretty big. Though, if you paid attention at the beginning, I said this takes place in 1912, which I didn't, but it says that in the script. Pretty much, after the Hindenburg disaster, we decided to use hydrogen. Now, the Hindenburg disaster was actually was a couple of years later than 1912. So we are going to be using hydrogen gas for this estimation because hydrogen gas seems like the best thing to do, considering that hydrogen gas is 0.0770 pounds per foot cubed of lifting force, which is better by 6. So still gonna be pretty huge. In total, for that you would need 19,500,032 feet cubed. Slightly more plausible, but still insane. You only go down by 6 million. So if you want to knock off that 6 million from your size, you better hope there are no avid smokers or firearm owners in your whole city. But that's all from me right now. Sincerely, the Demon.